Number 5. Stacey Dash is mainly known for Clueless, both the movie and television show. Throughout the 90s and 2000s, her career was on par for a young 90s television star. Not many major starring roles, but at least she consistently worked. That is, until the 2010s when she traded her liberal views for conservative ones and became outspoken about them. There is nothing inherently wrong with sharing conservative views. But many of her more extreme views rubbed the public, and potential employers, the wrong way. Among other things, she has called for an end to Black History Month, called teenage victims of sexual assault bad girls who like to be naughty, claimed climate change doesn't exist, and claimed Planned Parenthood has a secret agenda for mass murder. Not the best platform if you would ever like to work with other human beings. Unsurprisingly, Dash has not had much luck finding work in recent years. Number 4. Remember Katherine Heigl? I remember a period where she was everywhere. Starring roles in Roswell, Grey's Anatomy, Knocked Up, and 27 Dresses, kept her on everyone's TV sets for a long while. And then one day, she seemed to drop out of the spotlight. The truth is that Heigl has a tendency to burn her bridges after crossing them. She has an enduring reputation for being difficult to work with, failing to show up for call times, refusing to leave her trailer, complaining about catering, and other behaviors that make her a less than desirable hire. To many, she's just not worth it. Number 3. Roseanne has always been outspoken, never shied from political content, and always kept up her tough, working-class persona. It was her charm, and the world loved her for it. Roseanne was one of the 90s sitcom mega hits, and its legacy, combined with her stand-up career, earned her decades of notoriety and goodwill. Then her irreverent political jokes became offensive political ideology. She baselessly called a school shooting survivor a Nazi, did almost the exact same thing with businessman George Soros, and then ended her absurd trilogy by calling one of Barack Obama's senior advisors Valerie Jarrett, of Muslim Brotherhood Planet of the Apes had a baby. As nonsensical as it is hateful and thoroughly deserving of its consequence. Her reboot of Roseanne was cancelled within a day and she has laid low ever since. Number 2. Charlie Sheen was a household name for decades because of his acting, first in serious roles like Platoon and Wall Street, and then for fantastic sitcom runs on Spin City and 2.5 Men. And who doesn't love Major League? Then, in the middle of 2.5 Men's 8th season, Sheen managed to become an even bigger household name. This time, it was because a series of inexplicably eccentric interviews and stunts made him the single biggest meme generator that year. Sheen's split from 2.5 Men began with repeated battles with substance abuse forcing him and the studio to part ways. But then he traded in the for hell, that dude is nuts. Sheen famously claimed to be a warlock with tiger blood and Adonis DNA, and that he was winning. He then went on to clarify that he was a total bitchin' rock star from Mars. Because sure, why not? You might almost feel bad for the guy if he didn't have sexual assault allegations plaguing him of late and some questionable views. He doesn't act much anymore. Number 1. The best does last. The last 4 celebs who arguably blacklisted themselves had to bring the list down so this last star could raise it higher than it ever was. That star is, of course, Brendan Fraser. Throughout the 90s and 2000s, there was no one cooler. Fight Me, with starring roles in fan favorites, Encino Man, Airheads, George of the Jungle, Bedazzled, and The Mummy trilogy, Fraser was a defining figure for a young generation. Even his small guest spot on Scrubs as Dr. Cox's friend Ben is to this day an extremely memorable cameo. But in 2003, his career took an immediate nosedive for the worst reason. Fraser alleges that in 2003 at the Beverly Hills Hotel, he was sexually assaulted by the then Hollywood Foreign Press Association president Philip Burke. Further, he claims that because he resisted the unwanted advance, he was blacklisted from Hollywood. The incident occurred around the same time Fraser was going through some challenging personal crises, but he believes the incident was a major factor in his Hollywood decline. The good news is that a string of recent recurring TV stints, including a main role in D.C.'s Doom Patrol, have caused many to label his triumphant and overdue return as the Renaissance